In the year 1571, the world stood on the edge of chaos. The mighty Ottoman Empire had conquered half of Europe and was now looking west, toward Italy, the very heart of the Christian world. But standing in their way was an army unlike any other, a coalition of Catholic powers brought together by the Church itself. This was no ordinary battle. This was a holy war, fought in the name of faith, survival, and God. This is the story of the Battle of Lepanto, the day Christianity fought for its life. The rise of the Ottoman Empire. By the mid-1500s, the Ottoman Empire was the superpower of the world. Stretching from the deserts of Arabia to the walls of Vienna, their empire controlled trade, religion, and the fate of millions. Under Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, they had taken Constantinople, destroyed the Byzantine Empire, and crushed Christian fleets across the Mediterranean. Europe trembled before their navy, a massive fleet commanded by seasoned admirals and fueled by decades of victory. But even as Europe divided itself with politics and pride, one man saw the danger clearer than anyone else: Pope Pius V, the head of the Catholic Church. The Pope's call to arms. Pope Pius V was no ordinary pope. He was a man of fierce conviction, a reformer who believed that faith alone could save Europe from destruction. When the Ottoman navy seized the island of Cyprus from the Republic of Venice in 1570 and enslaved thousands of Christians, the Pope could no longer remain silent. From the Vatican, he issued a call across Europe, not for prayer alone, but for war. He urged every Catholic kingdom to unite under one banner, the banner of Christ. And so, a grand alliance was born. Spain, led by the young and ambitious King Philip II. Venice, a maritime giant desperate to defend its territories. And the Papal States, the Pope's own army. Together, they formed what history would call the Holy League. The gathering of the Holy League. In secret ports across Italy and Spain, ships began to gather. Wooden hulls were tarred, cannons loaded, and crosses painted on white sails. The Pope chose a commander, Don Juan of Austria, the 24-year-old half-brother of Spain's King Philip II. He was young, charismatic, and deeply religious, a man destined for history. Don Juan's orders were clear. Find the Ottoman fleet. Defeat them. And save Christian Europe. By September 1571, the Holy League fleet had assembled near the port of Messina in Sicily, over 200 galleys and 100 smaller ships, manned by 80,000 men. Facing them was the Ottoman fleet, nearly 250 ships led by Ali Pasha, one of the empire's most ruthless commanders. The two great navies would soon meet in one of the most decisive naval battles in human history. The day of battle. It was October 7, 1571. The sea was calm, and the sky over the Gulf of Patras glowed with a crimson dawn. At around 11 a.m., the Christian fleet sighted the Ottoman ships near Lepanto, off the coast of Greece. The wind favored the Turks. Their crescent-shaped formation stretched wide across the sea, confident, unstoppable, and deadly. Don Juan ordered his men to kneel on deck. Priests walked among them, holding crucifixes. The men prayed the rosary, and Don Juan raised a banner blessed by the Pope, showing the image of Christ crucified. As the sun reached its peak, the cannons roared to life. The Christian right wing, led by Giovanni Andrea Doria, clashed with the Ottoman left. The Venetian Admiral Agostino Barbarigo faced the Ottoman right, and was mortally wounded by an arrow, even as his men destroyed dozens of enemy ships. At the center, Don Juan's flagship Real charged into the Ottoman flagship Sultana. The two ships collided with a thunderous crash. Grappling hooks flew. Spanish soldiers boarded the Ottoman vessel. A bloody, chaotic fight erupted on the decks. When the smoke cleared, Ali Pasha lay dead, his head displayed upon a pike. The Ottoman flag was torn down, and the banner of Christ rose in its place. The morale of the Ottoman fleet collapsed. By sunset, more than 30,000 Ottoman sailors were dead or captured. Nearly 200 Ottoman ships were destroyed or seized. The sea turned red, but the cross had triumphed over the crescent. The aftermath. When news of the victory reached Rome, Pope Pius V wept. He was said to have seen the vision of the battle's outcome at the very moment it ended. That day, He declared. The hand of God was at Lepanto. Church bells rang across Europe. For the first time in over a century, Christian nations had defeated the Ottoman navy. Although the Ottomans rebuilt their fleet within a year, they never regained their former power in the Mediterranean. Lepanto ended the myth of Ottoman invincibility and marked the beginning of Europe's naval dominance. The cost of faith. The victory came at a terrible price. Over 8,000 Christian soldiers lost their lives, and thousands more were wounded. But among the rescued were 12,000 Christian galley slaves, freed from Ottoman chains. Men who had rowed to exhaustion now stood as free brothers under the same sky. For them, Lepanto wasn't just a victory, it was redemption. The Pope dedicated October 7th as the Feast of Our Lady of Victory, later renamed Our Lady of the Rosary, in honor of the prayers said before the battle. The battle's legacy. The Battle of Lepanto changed the course of history. It was more than a military clash, it was a spiritual showdown between two worlds. The Christian West and the Islamic East. For centuries, poets, popes, and historians would speak of Lepanto as the day Christianity survived. Even Miguel de Cervantes, the author of Don Quixote, fought in the battle and lost the use of his left hand. He would later write proudly, "The loss of my left hand was for the greater glory of my right." Lepanto became a symbol of unity, proof that when divided nations came together under faith, they could overcome any empire. The Forgotten War. Today, few remember the Holy War of 1571. It's buried under the weight of newer battles and forgotten empires. But for the men who fought under the burning sun of Lepanto, it was the battle for the soul of Europe. And for the Church, it was the moment when faith stood against fear. And won. If you've never heard about the Holy War of 1571, now you know the untold story, the day when the Church itself led a fleet to defend its faith. History is full of moments like this, battles that changed the world, but were forgotten by time. If you love uncovering the dark, the hidden, and the powerful, then subscribe to the Untold World, where we bring history's secrets back to life.